with Bitcoin briefly reclaiming the key level of $100,000, we've got Charles Hoskinson announcing a brand new meme coin airdrop for Quantum Hosky, a game that he's now developing. We've also got underway the initiation of the hard fork for governance within the Cardano ecosystem, as well as the announcement of a brand new CIP dubbed CIP number 113, which brings together a brand new standard for tokenizing securities, RWAs, and potentially new stablecoins coming to Cardano. So without any further ado, let's jump on in. What's up, ADA Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here for Reed. As a part of today's video, we're taking a look at Bitcoin, some of the recent price action, as well as Cardano, and then diving into the Cardano ecosystem for a lot of big news, which has just been announced. Now, this includes the fact that the Plomin Hardfork continues to require more participation from the community. There's also been a tease of a brand new CIP labeled CIP number 113, which introduces a new standard for tokenization of securities, real world assets or RWAs, as well as stablecoins. This basically opens up a whole new ecosystem when it comes to interoperability with Cardano and other networks. In closing, there's also some pretty exciting news when it comes to Quantum Hosky, which aims to leverage the partner chain framework to really showcase, right, the power of what that brings, while also rewarding SPOs from the Cardano ecosystem, as well as SPOs or just operators, node operators, right, from other ecosystems outside as well. Now, if it's your first time stopping by the channel, my goal is to help you find your way within the growing crypto space. If you enjoy content like this, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. If it's the first time that you and I are meeting, consider subscribing to the channel. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down below. Now, if you want to take your support even further, consider delegating with either of the two Dapp Central stake pools, which are stake pool tickers DAPP. As always, I appreciate your support, not only with the stake pools, but also here through YouTube. So without any further ado, let's jump into the recent price action. We've got Bitcoin trading at $97,000. And just a day ago, Bitcoin was at around $104,000. So what we're looking at here is the 4-hour chart where we have the 50 SMA, which is this golden line, which is now trending upwards. And then we've got the 200 SMA, which is lying flat. Now, anytime that we're above both of these averages here, that signals bullish momentum. And so we were briefly getting bullish there for a bit. And as you guys can see here, we were sort of trailing below both of those averages where we were sort of having some bearish sentiment. Now, of course, Bitcoin had initially touched all the way up to 108,000 per Bitcoin. We had that slight retrace over the last 2 to 3 weeks, and we're now starting to see more momentum in a bullish posture. So looking at here, this is beginning on the 30th of December of 2024. So right before New Year's, we've seen Bitcoin moving all the way up around 11%. Now, this has unlocked a lot of altcoins, including Cardano. So if we take a look here, Cardano making a move of nearly 30% in a short period of 6 days. And this was, again, right at the beginning of the new year. Now, obviously, we've had a minor retrace here, but panic not. We are still in a bullish posture here as Cardano is basically at a key level of resistance or potentially support. So as you guys can see here, again, we've broken above the 200 SMA and the 50 SMA, and we're now literally sitting on both of those averages. So what we're going to see happening over the next couple of hours or days will be critical to either confirming more bullish momentum, meaning higher price action, or an additional time period or time span in a bearish phase. Now, if we zoom out here, right, fret not, we are still trading within a very crucial range, which I highlighted in a prior video. So if we take a look at here, where we had the pump from Cardano about a year ago, we had topped out at around the 79-cent range. This was all the way back here. Now, zooming back in where we are, we've seen strong buying pressure or strong support at that 79 to 80 cent range. We've seen it once over here. We've seen it once again. And we're now trading right in the middle of this range here with Cardano at $1.01. Now, if we're able to, continue this bullish momentum, we're definitely going to be retesting the highs, which were made around the 2nd of December at around $1.31. And if we zoom out even further, looking at the daily time frame here, if we're able to break past that particular zone, let me just bring this down a little bit. We're going to be looking at targets at around $1.50. Now, I've broken this down in prior videos. I'll leave the links to those down below, but wanted to just quickly show here that even though we've seen a pretty big red day today, looking at the daily chart here, the 50 SMA is still acting right now as very strong support. So as long as we are able to stay above this yellow line here, we're technically safe and sound. And if we take a look at Bitcoin here on the daily as well, we are slightly below that 50 SMA, but it is right now showing to be a nice spot for a very strong rebound. So that'll do it there for updates when it comes to the macro markets and the overall charts there. We did see a lot of liquidations occurring earlier today. If we take a look here, let me just jump back in here. We've got over $500 million, $500 million being liquidated in the last 24 hours. The majority of that coming in here for the long traders. Again, when we saw Bitcoin breaking over $100,000 per coin, we saw a lot of leverage trades coming in here, betting that Bitcoin prices would go higher. Now, of course, the market tends to do the exact opposite of what the majority think. And we've seen a massive wick down, Bitcoin dropping around 5 to 6%, which basically resulted in altcoins crashing very, very quickly earlier this morning, which has now caused, again, a lot of long traders who are betting on being bullish to become liquidated. That said, that will do it there for the macro updates. If you guys want more content like that, please let me know. I released a video not long ago just diving into the technicals and surprisingly got a lot of very positive feedback asking to just dive into more of how the technicals work and potential indicators. And so again, as this new year goes on, I am looking to do new things here on the channel, which that does include, right, talking about different topics than I've talked about before, some of that being charting and sort of breaking down key indicators that may help you as we get ready to enter this exponential phase here for the bull market. Now, that said, and that out of the way, let's talk more about Cardano and the ecosystem specifically. So in one of my last videos here, I mentioned the fact that the Plomin Hardfork, right, which has been renamed from chain number 2, is now at least in the hands of SPOs as to when we'll actually be able to see this going live. So we've seen the Hardfork governance action submitted on chain. I've broken this down in a separate video. However, we haven't seen a lot of participation here from the SPO. So I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know. But before we get to that, at the current rate that we are at, I don't actually think that we're going to have enough votes or participation to actually initiate this hard fork, which is a grim reality here when it comes to governance. If we don't have participation, things will not happen. So I want to break down exactly what you can do here as a Cardano ADA holder in order to, number one, get involved, but then number two, make sure that if you are already involved, that you can at least spread the message, right, to anybody else that may need to tune in here to hopefully provide their vote if they haven't already. Now, I do want to preface this with the fact that the Dapp Central Stake pool has already voted in favor of initiating the hard fork and that the pool has been updated to the latest Cardano node version. Now, that said, again, we've got some of the dates here that the hard fork could potentially be enacted if it does pass this round, with the very last timeline being the end of January. Now, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it does not seem like we have enough participation to get this kicked off in January, which I think will at least be a grim reality to have people wake up and to actually tune in as to what's going on with governance. Otherwise, we will not be moving forward with governance and DREPs all finally being able to get out of that bootstrapping phase. So if we jump over to AdaStat, shout out to this particular team here, becoming one of my favorite explorers here in the ecosystem. I'll leave the link to it down below. We've got the link to the transaction to initiate the hard fork, which was submitted and voting began on the 21st of December, so right before Christmas. And the voting ends, or the deadline ends, on the 24th of January. And of course, keep in mind that if it is ratified at the very last epoch, then we'll need at least 5 days before the actual hard fork takes place, meaning that the very last date that this could happen is January 29th. Now, again, this is just the hard fork initiation action, and we need everybody to tune in and vote. For this particular action, there is a caveat here where DREPs cannot actually vote for this just yet, because again, we need this action to take effect before DREPs can be included in governance moving forward. In terms of the approval and how constitutional this is, we don't have any official votes yet from either of the parties from the ICC or the Interim Constitutional Committee, which of course includes the Cardano Atlantic Council, the Eastern Cardano Council, the Cardano Foundation or the CF, Emergo IOG, the Cardano Japan Council, and of course the Intersect MBO. Now looking here, let me punch in just a little bit. This is where we need SPOs to step up. So as you guys can see here, we have 21 billion ADA, right, which is available for SPOs. And we have 4 billion, or around 19%, let's just round up to 20%, which have actually voted yes or in favor of initiating this hard fork. Now, looking right below that, we have 57 million ADA, which is very minor compared to the 4 billion, which have voted no, basically saying that they're not ready for this hard fork to take place. And then we have 17 billion ADA, right, which makes up basically this 80% that have yet to actually vote. So by default, right, the majority stake pools are here on the not voted section until they actually take the action to either abstain, vote no, or vote yes. So that said, again, the Dapp Central Stake Pool has already voted. And if I actually search for Dapp here, you guys can see that the Dapp Stake Pool has voted. This was done 10 days ago or right before the New Year's kicked off. So if you are delegated to Dapp, thank you. If you're delegated to anybody else, that's okay. But also make sure that your SPOs have actually voted. This is where we need the community to stand up and to show out in order to get this message out to everybody so that they can participate in governance. So again, this brings full on governance through CIP number 1694. In addition to that, I mentioned this in a prior video. If you are staking and you have not withdrawn your rewards after this goes into effect, right? So once we are able to get SPOs on board, if you're staking and you have rewards and you want to withdraw them after the Plomin Hardfork, you will not be able to do so unless you have delegated to a DREP or you have registered as a DREP yourself. So again, this is done in order to make sure that participation increases when it comes to governance. And if you're not going to be a DREP yourself, that you've at least taken the time to delegate that voting right to somebody else that will go ahead and vote and represent you on your behalf. In addition, this particular hard fork brings in brand new Plus enhancements, adding brand new primitives, basically making the Cardano ecosystem a little bit more powerful when it comes to potential tooling that developers have at their disposal. Now, how can you get involved if you aren't already? Again, delegate to a DREP, make sure to stake your ADA, make sure to reach out to your SPOs and make sure that they've already voted if they have not, again, anytime before the 24th of January. That will do it there for updates when it comes to that particular hard fork. As we get ready to close out here, I want to highlight one last thing here. Keep in mind that we do need exchanges to come on board there as well. We've got 14 exchanges which are now ready. We have 13 which are in progress, and then we have 31 which have yet to update. And so in terms of liquidity, we need that threshold to meet at least 80%. Right now we're at 32%. And then in terms of the stake pool readiness, that's doing a lot better. We have 3,000 stake pools total. 954 are basically ready. And that represents 81% of the stake in the Cardano ecosystem. So again, we're waiting on SPOs to vote. But in terms of exchanges, we need some of them to update. And then when it comes to just the amount of stake, which is associated with the hard fork that is required, we have already met that particular threshold. As we move into the next piece here, we have a brand new CIP, which has been brought on by Matteo Capola, who represents the Fluid Tokens team and a few other bright minds within the ecosystem to bring a brand new standard for tokenizing securities, real world assets, as well as just growing the interoperability between Cardano and other networks, which is now dubbed as CIP number 113. So there's a big breakdown here. I'm not gonna be able to highlight all this in this particular video. I'll probably have a separate video breaking this down entirely. But if I jump over to the CIP here, we have some of the technical documentation. Of course, if you're not a developer, a lot of this won't make too much sense. But the gist is that this will open up a brand new opportunity here for standardizing or at least formalizing, right, how securities can be handled on Cardano, how real world assets can now come in here and adhere, right, to regulatory guidelines, whether that's in Europe, Asia, Africa, and within the United States, and just bringing another level of programmability and interoperability between Cardano and other networks. So shout out to that particular team. Shout out to Matteo. I've had him here on the channel multiple times. Shout out to Michele from Harmonic Labs as well, who's been putting together a lot of proposals and working very, very hard here for the ecosystem. As we get ready to wind things down, I want to briefly talk about Quantum Hosky and Charles Hoskinson. As always, if you do enjoy content just like this, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more, again, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave those down below. Now, if you haven't heard about Quantum Hosky, this is Charles Hoskinson's new pet project. And basically what he's aiming to do is showcase the power of the partner chain framework, which Midnight already uses, right? But this is going to be sort of the second in line when it comes to showing that technology, but then also integrating and really bringing meme coins to a whole nother level. So I'm going to play this clip here in just a minute. It's very, very short. It's about 2 minutes of Charles speaking and breaking down exactly what Quantum Hosky brings. However, I want to highlight something here, and this is just a little bit of the breakdown or the short list of what Charles mentions in this clip. So first and foremost, he's mentioned the fact that he's bringing together 4 to 5 different companies, some of them already working in the Cardano ecosystem, some of them which don't, but he's going to be buying them out in order to bring this development to life. So again, it seems like everything is kicking off here in the month of January. But in this clip, Charles highlights the fact that he's now working to put together an AI civilization through this game, again, which is called Quantum Hosky. And in addition to that, they'll be leveraging a brand new language as well as bringing together a brand new religion, all based off of quantum information theory. Again, this guy's on a completely different level. Now, who's going to be leading this? Well, he's going to be allowing for Trim Brusette, who's a very good friend of mine, who's been here on the channel plenty of times. He's broken down and basically led the entire Doom on Hydra movement here, which has been a huge marketing effort, which has been extremely successful for Cardano. And he's going to have the opportunity to lead the development on Quantum Hosky. So Trim, congrats to you, man. You are a hard worker. And it seems like Charles is really taking a liking to you, which is extremely well-deserved based off of everything that you've done even before joining IOG. And of course, now with a really successful run with Doom on Hydra. And now you have the opportunity to now operate, or at least lead the team is what it sounds like, for Quantum Hosky. So just want to give a quick shout out and a congrats there to my friend. And that said, Charles has mentioned that they'll be partnering up with DC Spark. They'll be using their gaming engine, also known as Paima. And again, they'll be leveraging the partner chain framework. Now, here's the key and interesting piece here. There's going to be a glacier drop or a meme coin airdrop, basically meaning that anybody that wants to jump in and actually play this game has the opportunity to earn some free tokens. On top of that, Charles has mentioned the fact that he's opening up this ecosystem in order to not just leverage or bring Quantum Hosky to the spotlight, but in order to also bring other ecosystems to the spotlight. And so he's talked about the fact that within the Quantum Hosky game, there'll be the ability to basically have tokens, or that different items will be respawning within the game that will then allow for you to actually collect them, but then cash them out for real tokens or real meme coins. So imagine a virtual gaming environment where you've got tokens, for example, like Snek, Hosky, Chad, Clinic, even things, for example, like Pepe, Whiff, Dog with Hat, all these different things. And they'll be spawning within the game. And as you collect it within the game, because there's transactions taking place, there's going to be a treasury set aside, again, from the players that play. And that will be used to actually purchase real meme coins, which are then collected in the game and can be cashed out for actual value. This is what we need. And this, I think, is another really great example of what can be done with the partner chain framework. In closing, that's really it here for this video. Again, I'm going to send you guys home here with a 2-minute clip from Charles, the man himself. But I hope that you guys found this particular update to be helpful. As always, if you did, smash that thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're new. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down below. That said, enjoy this last clip.
Dude, we are getting so deep because this is the first time I've ever built a video game with AI enhancement. So as we come up with an idea, we put it into a large language model and we take it to, the logical extreme, and it adds all this stuff in, and then we brainstorm it for a bit. We do another. So we're doing our first workshop where we're bringing probably about 4 to 5 different companies together here in January. And we've already come up with crazy ideas. Like, we're going to have an AI civilization inside the Quantum Hosky game world. We got this idea from the Stanford researchers who did an AI civilization in Minecraft. But then we said, why don't we take it to the next level? Why don't we create a whole new language for them that's based on quantum information theory, and it can only be spoken in musical tones. And then let's actually create a whole new religion for these characters that live in this fucking game world. And then we go to the AI and we're like, design it, and it designs it. We're like, holy shit, that's so crazy. So it's getting there. And once we have the kickoff workshop, we're going to have a dedicated team. Trim, the guy who did Hydra Doom, is going to lead it. We're probably going to be partnered with DC Spark on it. And they have a wonderful game engine called Paima, which is multi-chain. It's going to be based on technology inspired from our partner chains framework and Midnight. So there's a lot we have to do to finish that technology, get Midnight into market. So it'll come after Midnight, but not too far after, I think, if we can move quickly on it. And there's some acquisitions that I would like to do too. Some people I'd like to buy to augment the team to accelerate its time to market. Like Midnight has a strategy to do a glacier drop for the layer ones, it'll have a glacier drop for the meme coins. And we're also thinking around an idea of having this be beneficial to meme coins. So, in a Minecraft style world, creatures spawn. like zombies and horses and all this stuff. Well, what if you have things that represent meme coin ecosystems, like a snake for Sneck, or like the Hosky dog for Hosky, or pick your favorite meme coin from Solana, whatever. They spawn in the game world, and actually, when you go kill or interact with those, you can actually harvest actual meme coins from them. So how you do this is that events in the game require transaction fees to do things. You take a tax, like 10 or 20% of those transaction fees, you put it into a treasury that auto buys meme coins on the open market every month, and that uses it as a supply for the spawning pool inside the game. So the larger that Quantum Hosky gets, the more Quantum Hosky starts purchasing other meme coins. So it creates a natural buy demand and utility for all the meme coins that are inside the Quantum Hosky ecosystem. And so then as you add new meme coins, you're not just adding meme coin, you're actually adding like spawns and structures and cultures inside the game world, as you do this. So we're really excited about how all these things, and of course it has all the other stuff, the dish brain computing, the artificial intelligence, the hypergeometry, the non-Euclidean geometry, time dilation. They're also called time expansion experiences, so TEEs. There's all this stuff that will be there, and the latest innovation is having a religion and language for the NPCs, and we'll have the workshop, and it'll be a lot of fun. And as we get a little further along, we hopefully can find a way to partner with guys like you to get out the good word.